Hey guys, it's Kylie and welcome back to my channel. So as you guys I'm sure could tell from the thumbnail, I am finally going to be starting my book review series on my channel. I'm very into reading and literature and English, and I'm super into all that stuff. I am heavily into romance novels, and that's like literally all I read. Everything I own is romance novels. So I'm very excited to share this with you guys today. And I've recently discovered my newest obsession, my new favorite book, and I say this about all the books I read and all the series that I read. This is my new favorite, but this one is so good, you guys. I'm not kidding. For today's book review / book versus movie, I have chosen After by Anna Todd. I am super excited to review this for you guys. I love this novel so much. And before you click away, if you are not a reader, or if you don't like romance novels, or if you're not really into reading or literature at all, give it a chance. I promise that it won't be super boring, but this video will also have spoilers about the movie and about the book. So if you don't want to hear it because you want to read it later, or if you want to watch the movie and you still haven't watched it, then I'm going to put a little timestamp somewhere on the screen of where I just give my overall thoughts on the book and on the movie without any spoilers. So if you do want to jump ahead to that part, I totally understand. And I also wanted to say that I am not wearing any makeup right now. I'm actually in my pajamas, just hanging out in my room. I definitely want my channel to not seem so like put together and so perfect all the time. Like, I know that I'm kind of going for the aesthetic, like appealing to the eye vibe, and I definitely want to keep my channel like that still, but I also want it to seem real and raw, and I want to show my true self to you guys, and I don't want to hide behind a screen or hide behind makeup and clothes and all that. So I definitely want to share who I really am with you guys as well. But yeah, so for today I am going to compare After, the novel by Anna Todd, to After, the motion picture movie. So for starters, I did see the movie before I read the novel. I had actually seen the trailer for After on Twitter, and I instantly was like, I need to see this movie. And I told my mom that we needed to go see it because me and her are like romance novel movie fanatics. So we went and saw it, and I fell in love with the movie. Like, the movie was so good, and I was like, there's no way that the novel could even be near as good as the movie. The movie was perfect and it was amazing, right? Wrong. The novel by Anna Todd is incredible, to say the least. Like, I'm serious, guys. This is such a good book. Like, this book is, let me see how many pages. This book is 593 pages, and I read this in about a week because I was binge reading because it was so good, you guys. Like, I could not put it down. It was definitely a page turner. Like, seriously, it gets more and more intense, and you literally like, just one more chapter, and the next thing you know, you're like 5 chapters more than you said you were gonna read. So I do have a list of about, I think it's like 10 items that I'm going to compare from the book to the movie. So since I saw the movie before I read the book, I didn't realize how different the movie is from the book. Like, there are similarities, obviously. The movie is based off of the book, but the book has so much more detail, and like so much more things happen in the book that are so good, and they just added to the storyline. Like, I don't know. Okay, let's just get into it because I'm rambling now. But first, right away, after I read the book, I noticed that in the novel, Steph, which is Tessa's roommate when she goes into college, her like dorm mate or whatever, she, in the book, says that she has a boyfriend and that his name is Tristan, and refers to him as a boy, and she does have a boyfriend. But then in the movie, she does have a significant other, but she does have a girlfriend, but her name is Tristan still. So they gave Steph a girlfriend rather than a boyfriend, which I thought was kind of cool because I think it really like corresponds with how things are now and how everybody's super accepting of all that. And I thought that was a really cool element that they did add to the movie, and I didn't think that that was something that really messed up the storyline. She had a significant other still had the same name, they just changed the gender, which I thought was kind of cool. So after Hardin and Tessa had kind of kindled their little romance a little bit, and they were hanging out and doing all these things, they did in the book spend a lot of time and like a few different nights together at Hardin's frat house that he was in. But in the movie, they didn't spend any time really at the frat house except for the night that they met, which was at that party like in the very beginning of the movie. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But that was the only really time that they were ever spent at the frat house in the movie. When she did come back to confront him after Noah had found out about their whole fling. That was at the frat house when they were like on the roof, but that was the only time that they really spent there together. In the book, they spend quite a few nights there, and they share quite a few really cute moments there. So I wish that they would have put those in. I mean, I know that they can't fit this whole book into an hour and 40-minute movie. I understand that. But there was a few of the frat house moments that I felt like were really cute, and they kind of added to their story. So I do wish that those were put in there. Another place that they did stay a lot together in the book that they didn't at all in the movie whatsoever was Hardin's dad's house. And Tessa actually spent a few nights there without Hardin by herself when they were like having a few arguments in the book. So a lot of time and moments were focused on in the book at Hardin's dad's house. So I was definitely missing that in the movie. And I feel like a lot of those moments were like key in like the build-up of the relationship and how they were able to fix it between each other. So I do miss that. And I also feel like the bonding between Tessa and Karen, which is Hardin's stepmom, it's Hardin's stepmom. They really bonded together, and there was like a few conversations that they had with each other that I felt like really helped their relationship grow, and it helped show Karen and Hardin's dad's like view on like the whole Hardin situation. So I really did miss those in the movie. I felt like they should have had just like even like just one night where Tessa and Hardin stayed together and where like a conversation between Karen and Tessa took place. So I definitely feel like that was missed out on in the movie. Okay, so now getting into some good stuff. So in the book, Tessa and Hardin have their first, intimate times in Tessa's dorm room in the book. The first time happens in Tessa's dorm room. And I didn't personally like that about the book. Like, I don't feel like it should have been in a dorm room. Like, I understand why Anna Todd, the author, made it in the dorm room, because they're not a typical couple, like, whatsoever. Like, they're completely abnormal. So, like, nothing about their relationship is like, this is how it's supposed to go and this is how it went. Like, it's not like that at all. So I get why it was in the dorm room, but like, I don't know, I didn't like it being in the dorm room. Like, I felt like it should have been somewhere else, which in the movie, it was not in the dorm room. It was actually in an apartment that they shared together in the movie. So I liked that way better, and I liked the whole scene in the movie way better. Like, I know in books you can like, it tells you and you can read what they're thinking during the moment, so you obviously miss out on those good parts in the movie, but I definitely like the setting and the overall vibe of their first time together in the movie way better than the book. And staying on the topic of intimacy, I want to move on to the scenes, the intimacy scenes in the book versus the movie. The intimate scenes in this book are quite intense. They're very intense. So if you're not really into that sort of thing, I definitely wouldn't recommend you read this novel, because the scenes, they'll be feeling some other type of way, you know what I mean? But they are really good. Like, I am such a smut reader. Like, I love this stuff. I live for it. Like, I just love it. So I really enjoyed that about the novel. But I know that that's not for everybody, so I totally get that. But in the movie, the scenes were not as intense, and I understand why, because the movie, I know they wanted to rate it PG-13, and if they would have made them even more intense than they were in the movie, then it would have been definitely rated R. There is some scenes like where after Hardin throws a fit and like throws the whole scene, like breaks tons of stuff at Landon's house, which is his dad's house and Karen's house, and then Tessa comes over and then he like cuts her on her hand and then he helps her like clean it up, and then the intimate scene after that is like a little on the edge where you're like, this is about to be really bad, but it's really not that bad. And so is their like first time scene. Like, I mean, it's explicit, definitely like not for kids, but it definitely wasn't as intense as in the book. The ones in the book, I'm telling you, or you need to read them. But I also did feel like there was a lack of those scenes in the movie. When I saw the trailer, I felt like it was gonna be like a teenage version of like 50 Shades. Like, obviously not as like, that's intense, that's something, that's real intense. But like, I thought it was gonna be definitely more of like an explicit movie, but like teenage version. I definitely expected it to be a little bit more up from that. I thought that there was gonna be way more like sexual scenes in the movie, but there wasn't. So I missed out on that obviously. But again, if you read the book, you'll get tons of those. There's literally like one every few chapters. Also, something that I noticed that was not in the movie a lot, which I know that there are like little things, so they wouldn't put them in because they're not gonna fit the whole book in the movie, obviously. But they didn't have like all the little fights that Tessa and Hardin had in between. Like, there was a lot of arguments that they have in the book where you almost want to be like, Hardin, get it together. Like, seriously, there's so many things and so many arguments that they have, and you just like, I kept on getting frustrated. I was like, oh my god, because you just want them to be happy and you want them to be together and working together in a relationship together. But it didn't really work out that way in the book, obviously. But in the movie, there wasn't like those little mini arguments that they had. There was like the one or the two big arguments that they have in the movie, obviously, but that's like it. So there definitely wasn't those little arguments that they have in between. And back to the apartment that I have previously said that they have together. So in the book, Hardin actually surprises Tessa with this apartment. It was theirs. It was never anybody else's. But in the movie, the apartment that they're staying in, that they have their first time in and everything, that is, he explains, as his dad's friend who is a professor, her apartment, and she's been like away in Italy for like the whole year, and so he was like meaning to water the plants is what he says. So he said that they could stay there for a little while until she got back. So that is the apartment that they stay in the movie, and in the book it's completely their own apartment. I do wish that they would have kept that part the same. I don't really understand the reasoning for the changing of the apartment situation. I felt like it was kind of like weird and like not really needed in the movie. One other huge part of the book that they did leave out, and there's actually deleted scenes that relate to this topic that like maybe they tried to put it in and it didn't really work out, but the romance and like kind of relationshipy stuff between Tessa and Zed. Zed is one of their guy friends in their group, and they kind of have like a little romance. They go on some dates, they kiss a few times, and that is between Tessa and Zed when Hardin and Tessa are like off and they're not doing good because Hardin again did something to mess up. So she gets at Zed and they kind of have a little romance, but that is not in the movie at all. And I did watch the deleted scenes on my movie, and there is some deleted scenes with Tessa and Zed in it. So I think they did try. I'm just guessing like maybe they didn't have room for it, or they didn't have enough time to put all of that in. So I'm guessing that's what happened. I feel like it would have been better if they put that in also. I was definitely missing that. But I also feel like it would have been a way longer movie if they did that, because they would have had to put so many extra scenes in the movie to be able to include that. So I definitely could see why they didn't. And to the bonfire scene in the movie, Tessa did go with Noah. And so the bonfire was very early on in the movie. It was after the lake scene. So after Tessa and Hardin had already kind of had like a little romantic scene together, then he tells her like, oh, I don't date, whatever. And so she's like, okay, wow, whatever, forget you then. And so Noah actually surprises her at college, and then she takes him to the bonfire. And that happens in the movie. And then in the book, Tessa goes with Zed to the bonfire, and that's like way towards the end of the novel. Not towards the end, but like more towards the like middle end of the book. And then Hardin actually shows up with like one of the girls that he knows, like just some random girl that like isn't really talked about in the book. But yeah, he shows up with her, and they weren't together at all, and Noah wasn't anywhere present at the bonfire, and she had actually already broken up with Noah by this time. So it was very different, and I really don't know like their reasoning for it. Again, I guess they would have had to put all those extra scenes to include the whole thing with Tessa and Zed, so I understand that. But the way how they did it with Tessa bringing Noah to the bonfire, I feel like that was kind of weird. And I don't know, the whole thing how they played like the game with the cards, and then Jay starts to kiss Tessa, like none of that happened at the bonfire. So I don't really know where they got that from. I think maybe just trying to change it up a bit. I'm not sure. I mean, it wasn't awful in the movie, but I definitely liked the way it was better in the book. And lastly, my last point that I wanted to make, I wanted to talk about the ending scene of the movie. So in the movie, the ending scene is Tessa and Hardin, and they're sitting on the dock. I think yeah, I guess you could call it a dock. The dock of the lake where they had their first little romantic scene together. And it's after she has read the paper that he turned in to the teacher, which the teacher then gave to Tessa. And they're just sitting there, and it's actually him reading the paper, like in his voice, but it's supposed to be like her like reading it, but he's reading it in his voice, like just over the picture or whatever. And so that's them sitting there, and at the end they both turn to each other, and then the movie cuts. So it definitely leaves you on a cliffhanger, and it definitely, they want you to come back to see the next one. So that's of course why they did that. So once Tessa found out that it was a dare, she then goes to see her mom, and there's like this whole scene with her mom, and she makes up with her mom at her mom's house, and that doesn't happen in the book at all, like at all. So I definitely don't, I wish that they wouldn't have done that, because there's some stuff in the next book that like I don't know how they're gonna work that out, because she's already made up with her mom. So I don't understand, because there's like some arguments and there's like a lot of things that go on between her and her mom in the next book that aren't good. So I don't know how they're gonna move them making up to them fighting again and having like a lot of issues in the next book. So I don't really know how they're gonna do that. But yeah, so at the end she finds out, runs home, and takes a bus home, and she sees her mom and she sees Noah, and she makes up with both of them. She comes back to college, and then that's when she gets the paper in class, and then ends with them on the dock at the lake. But in the book, it ends completely different. So when Tessa finds out that it is a dare, she breaks down, like that all happens, like the sad part happens where she finds out. But then she asks Zed to take her home. So she tells Zed that she needs a ride. And so Zed, being nice, and because he feels really, really bad for Tessa, and you can tell in the book that he feels really bad because he actually knew and was in on the dare. But you can tell that he feels really, really bad about it, so he takes her home, and she gets in the car, and she drives away with him. He drove her away. And then it ends with Hardin falling down on his knees into the snow and just watching them drive away. And then there's like minimal conversation between Zed and Tessa in the car, and she's just like, just take me home, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to hear from you, because she's equally mad at him because he knew also about the dare. So yeah, it just ends like that. Hardin watches her drive away, and it stops, and then it then continues on in the next book. So that's how it ends. I definitely like the ending. I like the ending of both. Like, I like the suspense of the book, how it's just like Hardin falls to his knees and watches Tessa drive away. What's gonna happen next? So I like the way that ended. I wish that they wouldn't have included in the movie the part with where she goes back home and like meets up with Noah and her mom and makes up with them. I didn't like that part. But I do like how they were sitting on the dock at the lake, and he wrote her the letter. Will wrote the paper, and he's reading it aloud, and then the ending where he says, "You once asked me who I love most in the world," and then he says, "It's you," and then they just turn around and they turn to the side and they look at each other, and they stare at each other for a good second, and then it just cuts. I really like that. I felt like that ending was like very powerful, and like his words at the end were really, I don't know, they were just like genuine, and I really liked the way that that ended also. So I don't know, I like both endings equally, and I get what they were trying to do with the suspense, definitely, for sure. So now I'm going to give my final thoughts on the book and the movie separately. Now I am going to start with the movie since I did see this one first. I do really love this movie. I have watched it countless times, numerous times. I love this movie. I do think that they did leave out some really important things from the book that I wish were in here. But overall, the way that it was filmed, the actors, like Josephine and Hero, they are both amazing. She's an amazing actress, he's an amazing actor. They definitely brought the story together, and I feel like they were perfect. They both were perfect for the role. I think that they did an amazing job with this movie, and I definitely recommend you see it if you haven't yet. And I also wanted to mention about the movie, this is separate from the review. Oh, well, I guess it kind of goes with the review, but I also wanted to mention that the soundtrack for the movie is absolutely phenomenal. You guys, like, there is a few songs, and I have like half the playlist on my phone, and I listen to them constantly. They're literally my favorite songs right now. But if you guys have not listened to the playlist, please listen to the playlist, or the soundtrack, I mean. It is so good. Like, the song Waves by The Coloring, it's like CLOURING. So Waves by The Coloring, my favorite song from this soundtrack. Like, it's amazing. I filmed a summer montage that I'm gonna be posting on my Twitter, and I put that song over it, and it is the perfect song. Like, I don't know, it's amazing. Guys, go look up the soundtrack. It is so good and you will love it, I promise. And for my review on the book, you guys, I said it in the beginning of this video and I will say it again. This novel is amazing. Anna Todd is an amazing author. She is just, the way she's able to put all of this on paper, like even just down to like the different novels that she has them reference because they're both into literature. She puts it in here and she puts the certain quotes that they love to put in here. I really love her novel and her work. This book is just overall amazing. The detail is really good, and if you love romance novels, you will not be able to put this book down. It is so good. So I definitely recommend you guys get this book and you read it. I know it's a little intimidating, like it's a thick book, but it is definitely worth the read and I am obsessed with it. I am actually now on to the second book. It is called After We Collided. So I am very excited. This book is actually even bigger than the first one, if you can tell. I don't know if you guys could be able to tell from the binding right there, but this one is even more pages. It's over 600 pages. So I am currently on page 261, chapter 46. So I am definitely deep into this read right now, and I just found out today, actually, because I follow the After Movie account on Instagram, that they just started filming today. It was day one of the After We Collided film. So I am so excited to see this next year in theaters, and you guys definitely can look forward to me doing a After We Collided book versus movie review as well. Anyways, you guys, this is gonna be the end of my After book versus movie review. I hope that you guys like this kind of video. I know that it's not for everyone, and I totally understand that, but just give it a chance. And I know that not everybody likes to read as much as I do, but I really love making these kinds of videos, and I think that it would be an awesome series to have on my channel. So I do hope to review more books in the future, so let me know if you have any specific book titles you'd like me to review, or if you like this video at all, just let me know down in the comments below. And as always, guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and of course comment, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.